shock. I just turned on the computer for the discussion and saw a note from my nephew, but not unexpected, because he's been ill. He had cancer, but it's time. I just spoke to him a few days ago, still very sharp mentally and quite accepting of the situation, but suddenly time is up. But a peaceful passing away. And as you say, just another moment of going to sleep. And
it's the beginning
of ordinary new life. Yes, yes.
Nothing is lost. Now it's again.
I just try to support the family as best I can, that's all. But it depends on whether anyone has any interest, whether they can hear the truth. But anyway, it helps so much to understand that it is just another moment in samsara, another moment of going to sleep, another moment of waking up. Like we discussed the other day, old age and death at every moment.
Well,
another personality.
About life, no sorrow at all. New life begins. Depending on conditions. No memory of past life at all. We just remember what is there in this life. But who knows about past life? Gone. No memory of it. So now, he couldn't know you at all. I think if he's not born in Deva world. So it's time to understand the truth of whatever is there now, which is so very subtle. Even the word Dhamma, because it's I and my brother, even the reality which is there arising and experiencing, when we talk about the object, in order to understand it clearer, because even it's there every moment, it's not known at all. So it's there now, experiencing each word, each reality appearing.
And it's so helpful to always come back to this moment, because that's all there is in life. So even the sadness or the thinking or the seeing or hearing, it's just now, just what appears now. That's it. And the story of my brother and this and that, I mean, it's just a moment of thinking now. But actually, even when he was alive, in truth, no one there, no brother, just moments of seeing and hearing and thinking. So it really is letting go of burden to appreciate it is just this moment in life, no matter what the occasion or what the story.
In any situation, there can be joy at moment of understanding the truth. It's just like this. Be confident of the word, just no one, no me. A reality, experiences an object, on and on and on by conditions. And it's so subtle that we can talk a lot about it, but the reality, the nature of even one reality does not appear, as there's not enough understanding of this very moment to be known gradually, little by little, by now thinking about this moment. It's still in darkness when there's no understanding enough to know just one reality at a time, a little bit more until it appears clear, no doubt about it. But as it's just talked about, it's only the idea but it can condition firm confidence of the truth that is there now and is not known yet. And we talk about it in order to become used to or accustomed to the characteristic of that which is there now, little by little, until it appears well, all gone. And what is there? How much understanding? Unknown, or it is known little by little that there is a reality right then. Even the object does not appear, but the nature of that is there, as not at moment of being fast asleep or deep sleep, different. That's right. It's there, but it's not known. Even at moment of seeing, it's not known. Moment of thinking is not known. It's just thinking about it, talk about it. So now it's time for joy in discussing on Dhamma, having a little more understanding to get closer to realize the reality which is there now as we talk.
It certainly is joy when one listens and appreciates what is true, as you mentioned yesterday after we'd been speaking. It's precious moments to appreciate the truth, no matter what the circumstances or situation, because it is now.
Little by little, stage by stage, depending on understanding. When it's there as no understanding before at all, but now it's begin to attend to the characteristic of that which is now appearing. It's there, it's a reality. Without understanding, it's something all the time. Even I, my feeling, my memory, everything taken for I, when it's the reality which experiences an object, no matter by way of memory, of liking or disliking. It's so subtle because it's there now, and it's the beginning to understand the truth. Not enough as long as it doesn't appear well. So each word just remind about the truth of right understanding of what is there. Hearing, considering, developing, understanding, just of that which is there now.
And it's so very different from moment to moment, moments of seeing, moments of hearing, moments of thinking, moments of joy, moments of sadness, different moments all the time, each one gone. The world is gone at each moment. It helps a lot to appreciate this. And you've been using the word attend to quite a lot recently. I was going to ask you what the reason is for the emphasis on attending to that which appears. Are you referring to Yoniso Manasikara when you are referring to attending to what appears?
Yeah, if we don't use any word, it's there. Because there's many things experienced. Is there anyone being the object of attention? See, that's why we begin to understand the word manasikara in Pali. It's there, arising with its citta, but it's different. Because at moment of seeing, Without attention, there cannot be the object appearing even as something. That's why each reality arises together and experience the same object to be known. Otherwise, it cannot appear at all without attention, without vitaka, at the other moment vitaka. But at that moment, it's conditioned by karma, no need for vitaka. But other cetasikas need to arise together to perform its function. As without attention, it's just like now. No understanding, no seeing of that, even it's there, but attention is not there enough to understand that it's there. For example, many things appearing now, but what is one which is there? Without attention, can we see the switch, the plug, something that just which ordinary is unattended to. So it develops when there's right understanding, begin to perform its function a little more. So the object is there to be known. And when it arises with right understanding, it attends closer to the characteristic of that object. So now the word manasikara is there in life at any time to understand that there is attention when there's a reality appearing to be the object at that very moment. Look around in the room, so many things unattended at all. But closer than that, it arises with each citta to attend to the object. Even it's so very little, very tiny, just that which impinged on the eye base or ear base, but it's there as it is. At moment of seeing, it's quite different from other moment, even thinking about it. Even it's there, but it's not seeing, but it's thinking. This is the subtlety of all dhammas, which one learns to understand more. The subtlety can be the object of understanding little by little, how subtle it is.
I think that what you're emphasizing is that only when there's right understanding is there the attending closely enough to the object, and also there has to be enough close attending to the object for understanding to develop. So they have to develop together when we're talking about Yoniso Manasikara, or the wise attending to the object. Without the attending to the object, there cannot be any right understanding, and vice versa.
That's why it has to be daily life, because they are there in life, but they are not known. They can be object of thinking or talking about it, but the reality, the nature of it does not show up. It doesn't reveal itself as it is, but we use it in daily life. I have no attention to such and such, but it's there. Just have the shade or the shadow of what we take for attention. But in truth, it's more subtle than that, because it arises with each citta. Attend to the object that citta experiences. So nobody can stop the way it is. And when panya develops on and on, it attends to the meaning of the word to understand the truth, and understanding the subtlety of the words of truth. And then it conditions attention to the object when we think about it. And when even the direct awareness and direct understanding is there, it attends to wiser with panya and so on, different degrees. So what we learned in book are in daily life, but the characteristic does not show up because not enough understanding of what it is, like the reality or the nature of citta, why it is so subtle, why it has to be only vipassana sati, cittanupassana satipatthana, not including any other citasikas at all, just citta itself. That's why it's so difficult to understand the moment of seeing, that what sees the object, if there's nothing experiencing it, it cannot appear at all. But the nature, the reality which arises and experience is just like any time, no matter it is moment of seeing or thinking or hearing, so on. It's there. But we just talk about other things like rupa and citasikas and take citta as only that which experiences an object. But its nature, its characteristic does not reveal at all. When there's no attention to the characteristic of that which arises and experiences an object, no matter what object is there. But it is a reality which is there. Otherwise, the world cannot appear, anything cannot appear at all. And it's so subtle that even when the object does not appear, the reality which is conditioned to arise, arises and experience an object, not through the six doorways. That's why the object does not appear. So it's quite different from other reality to be known in daily life. That's why without understanding what is there in daily life, it's impossible to let go ignorance and the idea of self, and things as usual, as before.
Yes, it's so very different from conventional ideas of attending, like attending to where one put one's keys or attending to what the other person is saying. And we have long stories about attending or not attending, but it's just for a moment, at every moment of every citta. So it's helpful to consider more and understand more about the attending at every moment with vipaka, kusala, with every citta.
So what appears in life, we learn to understand the difference between realities, but as long as it does not appear to be known directly, it's just like seeing only the shade of what is there, arising and falling away. No understanding of particular one, like citta. It's not citasika. At moment of seeing, it's different from moment before seeing. Learn to understand the pure citta itself. Only that which arises, no shape and no form. But that when there's no understanding, it is ignorance and doubt what is there. But it's that we are talking about the reality which arises and experience, while the object of that moment does not appear. It appears as the reality which is there, different from death, different from moment of deep sleep, because at that moment no object appearing at all. But at this moment, many objects appears, but they cannot appear together. So it appears by way of processes, one process with that reality which arises and experience, but it does not see, it does not hear, it does not think. It's there. What we take for what the understanding of that moment is a reality. And what is it? It cannot be cetasika, it cannot be rupa. It is citta, which performs the function of experiencing an object. Even the object before seeing does not appear at all, but it has to be there. So with understanding, the attention begin to develop little by little to attend to the moment of seeing of that which experiences an object. It takes quite a long time, but in order to become accustomed to the characteristic of a reality in life, the main one, the reality which experiences an object. Otherwise, they're mixed with other cetasikas and so on together. Not any one appear as object of understanding. So they cannot be direct and keen and sharp understanding of the truth of that. But it develops while hearing, considering gradually, little by little, like taking out what is the stain of the very solid ignorance and all kinds of akusala from moment to moment, from life to learn. To be truthful to the truth, Satya Bharami. What is there? How much understanding? But it can develop because it's true, because it's now appearing. That's why no need to do anything, no moment trying to find anything, because it's there now to be known. If it's not known now, how can it be known? Because now it appears, so understand that which appears, not that which try to have it, while it's not there.
I thought it was helpful in a recent discussion when we were discussing how even though we refer to kusala and akusala citas and citta vipallasa and so on, in fact, the citta itself is never kusala or akusala, and the citta itself is never perverted because it's always pure. It's always the reality that just experiences the object, but it's accompanied by the different cetasikas that taint it, the kusala cetasikas that taint it in a kusala way, and the akusala cetasikas that taint it in akusala way. So it comes to be called kusala or akusala citta, but actually the citta itself is never kusala or akusala. It's always the reality that is pure and just experiences the object, quite different from the cetasikas. And it's like that at every moment in life, in deep sleep or at death, as you mentioned, or seeing now or hearing, thinking in different ways. So, as you mentioned, it's subtle, but in order for there to be the understanding, the true understanding of citta, its nature has to be known as just the reality that experiences the object, which is pure, quite different from the different cetasikas, which each have their own different functions.
That's why if there's no more consideration, how can there be the attention to the reality which arises and experiences an object, or even the object does not appear is there? Beginning to understand that. So at any time in life, there can be the moment of beginning to attend to the reality which experiences and understand what is there between the object of visible object and sound and smell and so on. It's there in between. A kind of citta arises by conditions not to experience any object through the sense to the sixth ways at all, but it's conditioned to arise, to be vipaka, the result of deed, to arise and experience, even when there is no object appearing. As vipaka, it has to arise at birth and after birth, on and on and on, interrupted by moment of condition to make it experience that which is now appearing, no matter through what way.
Yes, and I think that without appreciating how there is one citta after another, different cittas just interrupted by sense or mind or processes, without firmer and firmer understanding of this, there will always be the idea of something, someone there, someone experiencing, even if there's some appreciation, it's just seeing which sees. But what about the other moments? Actually, it's like that at every moment in life. Different vipaka citas, just interrupted by sense door and mind door processes. So it can be a condition for calm and understanding even now.
And this is what we say now, this moment, understand this moment, understand the reality which experiences an object, and the object is in the moment, it's there.
And this is all life is. This is all life was for the one we called my brother, or the one wherever there is new life, and it's how life has always been. Never anyone, just different cheetahs experiencing their objects from moment to moment, nothing else to life, just one at a time now.
It's actually now. So we talk about what is there now, see, to understand. That is so very subtle. In a moment, what are there? See, the chitta is there for sure. And the citasikas depend on whether it appears or not, like feeling or memory or intention, cetana. See, they're all there but unknown until the enlightenment of Buddha realize the truth of everything so deeply. And what he said is just some leaves like in his hand compared to the leaves in the forest. How deep it is. Even the Rahata with supernatural power and so on cannot compare to his understanding, his panya, his wisdom.
No one but a Sama Buddha could ever teach this, because it is so deep and so contrary to the way of thinking of the world.
Mm-hmm. So no doubt about the 10 paramis, with a moment of akusala, with kusala moments, at that moment, akusala cannot arise. It's just a way to have less akusala and a little more kusala and condition to panya to arise. For example, like now, what parami is there? Why do we not go away and look and watch the TV and so on? It's parami too. Seeing the value, the precious moment of understanding the truth and develop by its own way, no one there at all. Be patient.
Yes, I was going to say it takes Kanti Parami and Satya Parami at such times to listen to the truth. And of course, Panya. Otherwise, at these times, one looks for distractions, one cannot hear the truth. So the paramis must be there. The nekama that Anne brought up last time, for the kusala jitas to arise with understanding, renouncing akusala of any kind at such moments.
And there are so many subtle realities like Manasikara, attention now, it's there at moment of hearing, considering, understanding, see? Different levels.
And as I think we mentioned last time, there can be kusala and kusala can develop, but without understanding of the realities, there can never be the letting go of attachment and ignorance.
So life goes on depending on conditions, whether with right understanding or kusala or akusala, or by conditions. But all can be known when panya is there, understanding the truth of it, no matter even it is akusala, very strong akusala, but it's there already to be known as its conditions, just to arise and then fall away. Is it time for question now, or any topic to talk
Yes,
about?
does anyone have any topics they would like to bring up today? Do you have anything you'd like to bring up, Anne?
Yes. Following last week's discussion, when I had mentioned, is it pronounced Chaga, C-A-G-A, in connection with renunciation, I checked back. It was in the Perfections that I'd read about it, and it talked about the Dhammas, determination, dhammas that are basic to all the perfections, and one of them is chaga. And my understanding that I think it's called is Ajahn
Chaga.
Chaga. Sorry, will correct me. Please correct me if I don't have this correctly. But chaga, I gather, is steadfastness in relinquishment, the relinquishment of the defilements, and I understood from what Jonathan mentioned that it relates. It is chaga. Another meaning or aspect to that is dana, and that it would associate with relinquishment in terms of letting go. Is that right? The chaga, yeah. So anyway, that's where I came up with chaga in relation to renunciation and relinquishment. Sorry, you're working away, looking something up here. I can see.
No, I wasn't actually. I was just making a note. That was all. I was just going to say that chaga, relinquishment, because whenever there's any kind of giving, it is a relinquishment, a letting go of the selfishness and thinking of oneself, thinking of the others. And of course, the greatest relinquishment is the relinquishing of akusala, and especially the idea of self. So this is the greatest relinquishment, as the Buddha taught, the letting go of the idea of self. But if there cannot be the giving up of little things in a day, how can there be the relinquishing of the idea of self? But I'm not quite sure how it relates to the adhitthana. As you said, we used to translate it as determination, but recently Ajahn refers to it as patience. So there's been a lot of discussion about adhitthana as patience. And just now I was also thinking, when we were talking about the paramis, about the adhitthana and the patience that's required to listen to the truth, especially if one's just heard some news or has some difficulty in life. But it takes adhitthana to patiently or be determined about understanding the value at those times. Yes. But anyway, perhaps Ajahn can say more about chaga and adhitthana.
Just before Ajahn comes in, and I'll give a brief comment or reference from the Pali dictionary that we sometimes refer to. It's compiled by Ñāṇatiloka, and it's usually pretty accurate. In relation to chaga, it says it directs one to a number of other entries, one of which is adhitthana. Now,
Okay.
adhitthana, as a doctrinal term, it says occurs chiefly in two meanings. The first of these is foundation, as in the four foundations of an arahat's mentality mentioned and explained in Majjhima 140. And the foundations are four, that is wisdom, panya, truthfulness, satya, liberality, chaga. So that's the meaning, that's where the dana meaning of chaga comes in, liberality, and of peace, upasama. And there's another reference here to Digha Nikaya, Sutta number 33. So the other meaning it gives for adhitthana is determination or resolution. And there are a number of contexts, but here it also mentions adhitthana parami, the perfection of resolution.
Okay, so it's yeah.
I think that without understanding the beginning, the base, or the foundation of reality, there cannot be moment of understanding what is said, no matter in this book or that book at all. What is the characteristic of a reality that can be known, that it develops on and on to such and such degrees. That's why in Thai, I'm used to the word jaka, not chaka, but I don't know the right pronunciation in Pali for it. It means letting go or what you've said. But in order to understand it different from dana, because dana anyone can give, but what for? Is there any understanding to let go the idea of self, the very firm clinging to whatever is there from life to life, just to give dana without any understanding of the purpose or no purpose of giving away things for the others at all. But jaka is moment, even no matter that it's giving or not, it's the moment of letting go. Jaka, the unwholesome reality, and avijja, see? If there's no understanding of the danger of ignorance, how can there be moment of conditioning, understanding of it better to let go whatever is there, which is ignorance of life, to be blind, to be deeply down, no being able to go up from that deep. And I think that at moment of giving with panya, or it based on panya, to give, not for oneself to take something in return at all, because it just seeing the value or the benefit of the receiver that is good for him and it can heal him or save him from difficulty and so on. That's why they can be giving without hoping, wanting anything in return. It can be, when it's there, accumulated to be such kind of citta to give. That's why even one sees someone give no matter a little and very, very great number of donations and so on. What about it at that moment? Just dana or jaka, because at moment of giving away, it can understand moment of letting go, attachment to that object enough to condition such and such ways of goodness. That's why jaka, even now, it's jaka. Why do we listen to the Dhamma? To understand it, to let go. the ignorance and unwholesomeness. But dana can be done by anyone, anytime. And this is the difference between jaga and dana. And determination or adhidana, when there's no understanding of the truth of reality at all, can there be such adhidana barami? It's I, it's that person, it's that situation, and so on. What about understanding? That's why barami has to be led by panya. Panya conditions all kind of goodness because it sees the danger of akusala, and it sees that the moment of kusala only, that akusala cannot arise. Otherwise, it's moment for kusala almost all day. That's why determination or confidence of the truth, condition dana and nekama and so on, to condition moment of letting go little by little until it can understand the truth, which is so very subtle, a little more because of letting go, wrong understanding, and unwholesomeness. That's why it has to be parami. If one is not enough understanding, no firm confidence, one go wrong. It's quite very difficult. How can I have it and so on? I is there as very important in life as usual. But when there's the understanding of no I, what are the unwholesome moment and wholesome moment? And the danger of unwholesome moment is that it cannot have any understanding of the truth of what is said now at all. Never understanding the truth. That's why now it's firm confidence that the truth can be known. Even it's so very deep, it's so very subtle, but little by little, just touching that which is so hard, tainted, very strongly, very solid, unwholesomeness, and try to have it just a little bit out, little by little, until all unwholesomeness are removed. That's why it needs the very firm confidence of the truth of this moment. And this is parami. Without it, why do we come here? Why we try to understand what is there in Tipitaka, like when Jonathan just said, what about it? The meaning of it is there now. How to begin when there's no beginning? How can there be such and such word for those levels?
Yes, earlier when I was mentioning about adhitthana, I meant confidence, not patience. There has to be patience too, but it's confidence.
Okay.
It's confidence that
Without
is
confidence.
the adhitthana, without, yes. So what is meant by determination? Because there can be determination, which is akusala or any kind, but it's referring to the wholesome confidence that is developed. This is what is meant by the adhitthana or the determination.
That, yes, because confidence would drive determination and vice versa.
That's right.
But without the confidence,
appreciating what is value, it's because of the confidence that one listens and understands the value and considers on and on and on.
Yes.
Is determined on what is most useful in life because of the confidence.
Yes.
Otherwise,
Well,
one wouldn't be here. Yeah.
Thanks for adding that. I can see how patience is involved too, but
that's
stronger.
very parami, but this is the confidence with the adhitthana and understanding. Or the steadfastness, I think you mentioned. So this is also the confidence, the steadfastness in understanding on and on and on.
Oops, sorry, the noise will go.
And it is the steadfastness, I think you mentioned, in
Yes.
relinquishing. So
Yes.
one can see how the more understanding, the more confidence, the more relinquishing of defilements there will be, especially the clinging to the idea of self. And
Yes.
that's why we appreciate how there is chitta at each moment in life forming its function, because of the confidence in that truth when we hear it.
Yes. I found listening to the discussion, I guess it was Saturday's discussion, it would have been for you, where Ajahn, you were talking a lot about citta, always citta, and the purity of citta. And it became clear for me how much attention, sort of in the way of thinking and reading, whatever, is put on those jittas where the object can be known, is known, or sorry, object appears and can be known by right understanding, but just sort of having the rest of it floating somewhere in the background, like the Bhavanga jittas, not so much the citta and Patisanti citta, but the Bhavanga jittas for sure. And it's been very helpful to hear more about the importance of understanding at some level that there is no moment without citta. That citta sort of leads the way and is essential, because it's too easy to think, well, you go to sleep. Well, I go to sleep, right? And there's nothing occurring, and yet it's also now easier to see that without understanding that citta, there are always conditions for citta, and citta always arising and falling away. That without putting more understanding and recognition onto that, it's inevitable that one will think there is a self. Anyway, I found that very useful.
And can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can, Sundara.
I was just thinking about that in sort of an amplification, a little bit about what Jonathan was saying. I'm in this little town at the moment. Adhidhana is composed of two words, adhi, obviously, and dhana. And dhana, as Jonathan alluded to, relates to foundation, but it relates to establishment, or like in satipatthana, it's the same, it means literally a place or a foundation. And adhi, which means higher, so it's like a higher place or a higher foundation, which obviously involves kusala. Although many of these words, sometimes it depends on the context, but here obviously referring to kusala. So we can see the connection with confidence, because that will arise with saddha if there is kusala. There's a couple of other aspects I'm just trying to tie together here. So we can say it's like when the Buddha spoke to Angulimala, he said to him, Adivasehi, which is kind of another version of this, which means literally live the higher life. He was admonishing him, or he was encouraging him, even though he was being struck. He had been struck by some people who didn't like how he had behaved in the past. But he just said to him, Adivasehi Brahmana, to live the higher life. So that again, that adhi, meaning higher, or put into a skillful way of being. Vasa, of course, relating to living or being in that particular case. So adhidhana, again, literally is the basis for higher being, if you like, which we know relates to kusala. So you've got that word dhana. It appears a lot in English too. By the word station, star, that's the root of the word. Dha means like a place or establishment or a foundation or whatever. So yeah, we can see the connection with confidence, and of course that will tie in with patience. You know, a lot of these words have connections with one another, and we can see how obviously language evolves in different ways. You know, with our understanding of the Dhamma, we can see how different words link together quite easily, even though they might in English be very, very different words, like, you know, confidence or patience. They all have a link together by way of kusala, and with relationship to development of understanding. I don't know if that's helpful, but I mean, I'm thinking that, yeah, if you break up the word, it can sometimes be helpful. But as we know, it's not just the word. The word can point to a way of truth and a way of being and a way of understanding, but the words themselves, you know, are not enough, because we can be an expert, you know, so to speak, in etymology or whatever, but it can be helpful, but there have to be other connections being made to tie everything together. And that takes, you know, patience and a commitment to truth, which again we can see is tied in with such a parami, you know, a commitment to truth as it truly is, not our particular version of it, which will involve often wrong view. So there always has to be, you know, very, very careful consideration, not only of the language, but also of the truth as to how it particularly is. Not
the language is just the mode of communication. There has to be much more understanding.
Yeah, and it's fundamental, of course, to Dhamma. We have to hear the Dhamma. I often see online that people talk about parato gosa, you know, the voice of another. There has to be the hearing and the wise consideration, because, you know, and sometimes I read online, people can read those words, parato gosa, time and time and time again, but for them there's no connection being made how valuable it is, you know, like when Upatissa, when Sariputta heard the words from Assaji, he had to hear from the other. It's only a Sambuddha or Pacheka Buddha also, but they've heard in the past, but it's only Sambuddha who doesn't have to hear. Everybody else has to hear. And of course, there are many different levels. When Upatissa, later known as Sariputta, he had accumulated all that wisdom, but he had to hear the Dhamma to enable that understanding to be, you know, to be catalyzed, to develop. So yeah, and as I said, a lot of people would hear the words time and time again, but because they're not the accumulations, the development of Panya in the past, then it's not going to mean much. They'll sort of go run around in circles. And sometimes when I read stuff online, I think these people just go round and round and round in circles. And they're stuck in the world of conventional reality, which doesn't allow them to make more wise connections between what truth really represents. It's just sort of like people get stuck in their version of it, and there's so much ditthi and wrong view involved. So it's a very complicated process in some respects. If you develop some levels of understanding, then we can slowly put things together. But if there's not been that really wise consideration and careful, continual consideration, then people will be stuck in this circular rotation of conventional reality, which really leads nowhere ultimately.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Sandara.
Good morning, everyone. I'd like to go back to something that Achan said earlier about no need to do anything. And this always, well, when I think of the Dhamma, yes, of course, these jittas and jeta seekers arise with no control. But I always have difficulty with it because I'm always doing something. I'll decide to have a drink, write down, and I seem to be able to do it. but no need to do anything. Ajahn, could you explain a little more what is meant by no need to do anything, please?
Who is doing anything?
Well, that's a very good question. In reality, there's no one doing anything. These events happen.
It's already there.
Right.
Don't need to do anything. It's there already. You think that you need to do it, but it's there already. No matter Chetana or Sanya or Vedana or Kusala or Akusala, they are there by conditions.
Mm. Mm. Yes, I think I've asked this question before, but in a slightly different way. And I guess it's because there's a strong attachment to the self. For example, there's been something bothering me a lot in the last few months. And the thoughts come up and it just absorbs me. And then it just quite lately, it's like reminding myself, well, I'm still attached to that particular event. So it's just, and when that sort of thinking arises, well, it's just attachment. There is attachment to an event that happened and has long gone. So what's the point in hanging on to it? So it's kind of relief at the moment, but then those thoughts keep coming back and coming back, and it's a nuisance.
As you said, I all the time.
Yes. Yeah, it is I all the time, I think. Yeah. And I think also sorry, Ajahn, go on.
So each word should be carefully studied and considered. Otherwise, there cannot be the understanding of the reality of what is said now. They are just the words about it, about each one. But in truth, it's there already. Can anyone do anything? Because in use, no one, only Dhammas. That's why each word should be carefully studied again and again in all aspects in order to understand the truth, the reality, not just the word.
Yes, Ajahn. True. I think it's just a difficult. Well, I'd like to go back to something Anne said also about the jitters. I agree with you, Anne, about the talk on jitters was really, yes, there's jitters we see, we hear, but all of the other jitters that arise and fall away, unless we've heard about jitters arising and falling, we would never know. We would never know that there's no self there. It's just these realities arising and falling. And sometimes I have it all down intellectually, I think, some of the time. And it just bothers me when something crops up and I'm stuck in that space again. But again, stuck in that space can be known. It's just, you just, whatever it is, annoyance or attachment, whatever. So thank you again, Ajahn, for the reminders. I think it's very precious.
And just a couple of more comments, Zita. When you say, oh, I'm always busy doing this and that, of course, this isn't the meaning of no need to do anything. So it's by tendencies how life goes on, or whether conventionally speaking, one's a busy or non-busy person. But the point is it's by understanding the realities that there is the understanding no one actually does anything at all. And you mentioned that these events happen, but actually there are no events. They're just stories of events, but there are, in fact, just different moments of seeing, hearing, thinking, and so on. And it's the illusion that there is an event or a busy or a non-busy situation. So that's why I think that when we think about the past event or the special event and what happened and how I'm busy and this and that, it is all the story of I, because it's not the understanding of Dhamma. So it's only when there is the understanding of Dhamma that there is the real appreciation that no I to do anything at all, no I that can do anything, because each moment, each thinking, each seeing, each hearing, each idea of this or that, each reality is conditioned, no I at all. So that's why it always has to come back to this moment to understand what appears now. Otherwise, we take the events for being real, but there are no events.
Thank you, Sarah. That's
And
very
the citta is busy at each moment,
yes.
no matter what the accumulations.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, I'd just like to echo what Sarah said about the Ajahns' use of no need to do anything. I understand that to be a reference to the development of the path. So not to any context other than that, like conventional doing is nothing to be bothered about. It's the doing as part of a practice or in the nature of a practice. It's doing in order to have kusala or understanding that is not necessary. Thanks.
Right. Yeah, that makes more sense to me, Jonathan. Yes, that it does have something to do with, trying to develop the path. So
the
no
not
need to
doing
go
is
and
the
do
opposite
anything.
of following a wrong practice. The
Right.
idea that one has to focus on an object or go to a special place or change one's habits or accumulations and so on.
Just
Yes.
just adding a little bit
Conventional
to that.
kinds of doing, sorry, Sundra just finished this. Conventional kinds of doing are not to be avoided. Otherwise, one couldn't live. So it's fine, even though there's some akusala involved, obviously, because all our doings are motivated by akusala, except the odd instance of kusala, of course. But that doesn't make them things to be avoided. It's just to be understood. But it's the doing in the way of a practice in order to have kusala, or especially understanding, that is to be avoided. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. That's most helpful.
ju-
And it fits in also with, that not only not doing something to develop more understanding, but it all fits in with Sarah. There is no one to develop these things. They just, by hearing, listening, hearing again, possibly the understanding will develop. But there's no one there to do anything.
That's right, but there can be doing even though there's no one, of course. But
yes.
doing happens by conditions. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Very good. Helpful.
Just to amplify Zita on what others are saying, and what you're saying yourself really to some extent, is that what I understand about that aspect of there's nothing to do anything, is that we are letting understanding work its way. It's letting, it's an allowing of understanding to grow, not putting a person in there, somebody who needs to do something. So it's just simply an allowing of understanding to grow.
But I think
In
even
doing-
by saying allowing understanding to grow can be a bit deceptive too, because, you know, and maybe I'm interpreting it incorrectly to what you're saying, but allowing, you know, that's doing something. I'm allowing understanding to grow.
I don't see it that way. Often
Right.
Ajahn talks about letting understanding work its way.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
Yeah,
referring
yeah,
to.
that's what
So-
I said. I'm probably misquoting you or something. Yeah.
No, it's
Yeah,
not necessarily
good
misquoting. I think
reminder.
it's good. I think it's good that you clarify, because we
Yeah,
have to use
yeah.
language. We have to use language. It's essential. It's vital. Some people use it in all sorts of ways. That's why we hear somebody say something, we think, well, I wonder what they mean by that. So we always need to dig deeper, like you have done, to clarify what that person is saying. So Ajahn might say letting understanding working its way. Somebody else may say something like allowing, or some other word that's synonymous with that. But then, of course, you can use that word, but have completely wrong understanding. So that's what you said was quite correct. We just need to dig a little bit deeper and then consider more carefully what is being said. Because I was saying before with Anne, you have to use language. It's vital. When people use it, we have to sort of sometimes get behind and think, well, what are they really trying to say there? And little by little, we can begin to tease out the truth. But it does take time and incredible amount of patience and commitment to that truth. You know, some people have got vast accumulations and can understand these things very quickly, like I spoke about before about Upatissa Sariputta. You know, he only need to hear those very famous words. You know, whereas we need to hear more and more and more and more about what the truth represents and how language is used ultimately. But you know, we can be confused in the beginning. That's very understandable.
Yeah, thank you, Sundaram. I have one other question for Achan or anyone. I've been reading the Visuddhimagga, the chapter on description of the aggregates, and the footnotes are unbelievably difficult. But the one question, because there seemed to be a debate about how many gammas produced the sense bases, but so is it only one gamma that produces patisantijita, Achan?
And you doing anything to understand what is just said?
Am I doing anything?
You doing anything to understand just that which is just said?
Well, I'm changing the topic a little bit to what was
Yes, but
before.
it should be understood clearly, right? Otherwise, there's doubt and still think about
Yeah.
as I do something or anything. But did you do anything to understand just what we just said?
No, I don't think I did anything.
So when there is the idea, I do, right or wrong?
That's wrong.
And if we don't talk about it, how can it let go? The idea of self. It's I all the time.
Yes,
It
Achan.
needs something to do because the I should do or something like that.
Right.
So what's your next question about Dhamma?
Well, it was, but it seems a bit irrelevant now. It's well, for example, there's a gamma that produces patisantijita. Is it the same gamma that produces the 6 or the 5 sense bases, or are they all different gammas?
That's why we have to understand just one word at a time when we talk about karma, see, what are there? See, cetasikas and so on, from moment to moment, commit that such karma and so on. But when it is karma, it is cetana, right?
Yes.
Intention to do with akusla or kusla, and not just one moment, but many moments to perform the adit through speech or body, right?
Right.
So when we talk about the moment of being born, a deva, one karma or all karmas,
Well, I think it's just
karmas,
one karma.
three karmas, only one karma, right?
Yes.
To be just one personality, identity. That's why you are Yuhana. Even at that moment, the collection of karmas which can produce its result in that life are there too, depending on conditions. What moment, what is conditioned by what karma. For example, Bhavanga is conditioned by the same karma which conditioned the Patisanti Citta to arise, right?
Right.
For example, to be born a human being, there should be, as its condition, to experience the present object, right? But sometimes it's not that at all. What about the moment of experiencing the unpleasant objects through the 5 doors? That's why another karma is condition the moment that it can produce result to condition moment of seeing unpleasant object or hearing unpleasant sound and so on. That's why it's said in Tipitaka, karma is hidden. No one knows. When will it produce result? Also vipaka is hidden too. Who knows what condition that moment of vipaka, what kind of karma in what life? But it's there already. For example, right now, seeing is conditioned by akama. Can you know what karma in what?
No, I have no idea. And I know it said in the Visuddhimagga that really only a Buddha knows which karma brings which result. So probably.
Yes. So when we talk about seeing, it's the result of the karma, kusala karma, which conditioned the patisanti citta, or the other karma, no matter it's kusala or akusala, can condition that moment too.
Right. Yes.
When time comes.
Yes. Yes.
Are you doing anything to understand this?
Listening.
No, you see.
No, me.
What,
no.
there must
Just,
be the
just
idea.
listening.
And when you say it's not me, it's citta. Is it the understanding of the characteristic of one reality as citta?
No, it's not the understanding of one chitta.
We learn to understand the subtlety of all kinds of dhammas, the more understanding of its characteristic and its conditions and so on. It let go the idea of self at moment of intellectual understanding only, but that is not enough because it conditions just thinking, minding about what is there by words or in words, but not the moment when the reality appears as it is, so clear, one by one. That's why we talk about just one reality at a time in order to understand what is there when it's there as it is. Otherwise, there is doubt. For example, doubt about citta at moment of seeing, it experiencing. But what is it? It's just like any moment arising and experiencing, no thing around or mixed in it at all, because one reality can appear as the object at a time, only one. So it's not clear understanding of the characteristic of citta, but learn to understand what is there in life, even right now. It's that which arises, experience an object from moment to moment, while the other realities, like other cetasikas, performing their function. And it can be known only when it appears like greed or attachment or aversion and so on in life. But without understanding it's me or it's mine all the time, or the others, the khandhas, 5 khandhas. See, understand the reality of dhammas when it's there. Not just only in words, but it's there as it is, as we have studied and begin to understand the difference. But the nature of that which experiences an object is not known at level of intellectual understanding. It has to develop on and on and on and on until it appears what is meant by Dhamma. As Kamma, see, at that moment, what is appearing, the object which is seen, where's the Kamma? If there's no understanding of Kamma, there can be doubt about why some people experience such different thing from the other. Dhamma is there all the time in life, unknown, because no understanding of anyone. But when there is hearing, considering, beginning to understand what is there as it is, intellectually, not enough. Because now citta is there, cetasikas are there, rupa is there, all together appearing, mixed up from moment to moment, not clear at all what is what. So learn to understand, to make it clear. Understanding makes it clear because it begins to understand the differences between all dhammas, one by one. Like now, seeing, see, so very difficult to understand that which sees because no attention to it at all in a day, while it's there all day, from moment to moment, experiencing whatever is there in life. So what can be done? The word Kamma or what?
I think what can
Reality
be
of
known
Kamma.
is what can be known is what appears now, whatever it is.
And even the word Kamma, it cannot be known just by words, intellectual understanding, but it can be the object of understanding. Who knows what will be the object of understanding? But without understanding at all, it's there now. It's not known at all. So understanding is understanding what is there now. Is there hearing? See, is that gone? And what is it? Moment of experiencing sound and sound, they are gone without any understanding. That's why we learn about it little by little, very carefully, to understand the difference between the reality which experiences and the reality which cannot experience anything at all. One by one moment at a time, one object at a time. So what is there at moment when we talk about Kamma?
What is it? Well, sound appears when we're talking.
And only sound appears without citta experiences it cannot appear.
Right.
But the citta is not known, even is there any moment. And as long as there is doubt about any reality, can it be the moment of understanding whatever is there cannot be taken for self or anything at all? So have confidence. Right understanding is firm, not change at all, unchangeable. It's true, be true to the truth of what is there now. And that is Adidana Barami, the base, the foundation of understanding until realizing the truth. No doubt about it. It's just Adidana, but what is it? The word about it, but what is it?
Well, Adidana is the Jetasika, so it's Nama.
What Jetasika?
Well, we spoke about it earlier. It's Aditana Parami, resolution or determination
That's the word.
to understand.
It's all about understanding.
Yeah.
Just Tanajan, I was just thinking then about, because we were talking about Aditana a moment ago. Another useful translation, not that the translation is the important thing, is that it's a firm foundation for the development of understanding. If there's not the firm foundation, there cannot be development of understanding. So we can use that word. Sorry. Please go ahead, Tanajan.
And what is firm?
Well, understanding at both the level of parayati and patipatti, and so on.
All baramis are about right understanding. No matter it's satya or nekama or viriya, khanti, adidana, all about understanding. Otherwise, it cannot be barami, because even just a little understanding is not enough. To realize the truth of what arises and falls away right now. Otherwise, what is firm?
Well, Tanajan, ultimately it's just a word, but unless there's understanding, it doesn't matter what word we can use, it won't be applicable. It comes down to the stage we have to use language, and we have to consider it carefully in the light of what understanding represents. And if that's not done, then we can probably say, Tanajan, if this is correct, that there are many different levels of adhitthana. Would that be correct, Tanajan Cup?
Yeah. there is such word. What is dana and what is adi?
Adi in the sense means higher or better or firmer.
Just panya, understanding, karma and so on, very little. But it has to be understanding of the truth of realities right now as it is. What is that? A reality. What is the truth of it? Of such and such reality. To let go, nekama, the idea of self and ignorance. The point is to realize the truth of whatever we talk about, the Four Noble Truths. What arises falls away. So now what is that arises and falls away? Adidana, firm, unchangeable, develop understanding with viriya and khanti and satya. That's why when we think about the word, we think by way of the word represents or pointed to. But in truth, it's the moment of beginning to develop the understanding of the reality which the word points to it, but not follow the word. Do you have time to have parami, to have adidana?
There is, by conditions, Tanajanka, we can always say there are conditions. If there are the correct conditions, if there are not the right conditions, then it's no matter how many times we say it or how many times we...
Firmness right there about.
Sorry, I'm not quite understanding, Tanajan, what you're saying there.
Do you have sometimes adidana?
Certainly, Tanajan.
About what?
About the Dhamma.
But if it's not about Dhamma, is it adidana? Parami, not just only adidana, but parami.
Well, if it's not about the Dhamma, it won't be parami. But we can probably say that there is it's sort of adhidhana there because it's relating to a level of kusala.
Only kusala, or right understanding?
Well, sometimes it might be only kusala.
But with any understanding or no understanding at all, as the base or foundation for such moment to be adhidana?
Well, then if there is the understanding, there will be conditions for panya, and obviously adhidhana will be there.
But why someone go wrong, even they read a lot of book about patipati, but they have place, meditation center, to what?
Well, we can just see from that, Tanajan, it's easy to go wrong. And that's not a difficult thing to do, to go wrong, because there is that not the accumulations for them to make the correct connections between what they've heard and the development of understanding.
And is it parami to go wrong?
Absolutely not, Tanajan. That's a rhetorical question.
That's why it have to be about understanding.
Yeah, it has to.
Firmer and firmer, more
True.
confidence at the base for all kusala deeds. To let go kusala from time to time. Until panya is there with such what stage of understanding of what is there now, this moment. So is there adhidana now? Is there satya now? Is there viriya now? Is there khanti now? Nekama now?
Well,
And-
we can say, yes, sorry, please keep going, John. We can certainly say that if there's some understanding, there's some level of adhidhana, we can say, but it's probably quite subtle in the beginning, but it can develop with more and more, it can grow with better understanding as it grows and as understanding grows and develops.
If they have a lot of understanding about words but go wrong, is it adhidhana?
No, Tanajan, obviously no. Rhetorical question.
That's
No,
why
because
only for understanding to develop firmer and firmer, stronger and stronger, more confidence of the truth as the base for all kusala in life. And I think it's time now